You want to do the clapping?
Oh yeah, we have to do this to sync the audio with the video.
Oh.
Have you know when they say on movies like take one, click? Do you know what that thing is for?
The click is for this?
For this.
So it creates a big spike in the audio, so they can sync the audio with the video.
That's really interesting. I didn't know that.
They just match the spikes up.
This isn't just like a ceremony. It's like, this is how you start your podcast every week.
It's kind of becoming. We need to just get one.
Group clap.
I should have just done this thing.
Oh, yeah, that's
No, I
perfect.
think I like the clap better.
It's a little more. Yeah.
All right, episode
We just said it in
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just did 14, 15.
Yep. I didn't change. I'm still wearing the same clothes. But that's normal for me because when I'm on the road, I don't change my clothes. 5 days, 6 days. People on my Instagram stories are like, "Hey, did you make all them in one day, or is this really 5 days later?" I'm like, "No, it's really it's 5 days later. Just it's just me."
All right. So for the viewers, you're going to notice we have a third with us.
Yeah.
Listeners, we have a special guest today. I'm undecided on what to call her.
Okay.
And I'll explain that. I'm going to go with Jawlings.
Okay.
Because that's what I go with. So everybody, please welcome Jawlings.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So I guess it would be spring soccer when our kid was in spring soccer.
Okay.
Jawlings was one of the coaches for the under 4 girls or under 5.
I had a couple of teams. So I was the under 4 girls, and then I had a U8 boys team too.
So
I bet that's a hot mess.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a horse race between the two, like which was a little more squirrely, but yeah, no, it was something.
I just thought it would be a fascinating guest.
We're just gonna talk youth soccer for the next hour.
We're gonna talk 4-year-old girls soccer.
So
buckle up.
actually, I do have a little more connection to Jawlings. We've touched on a little bit that I worked at the prison in Shelby. Well, Jawlings was the dental hygienist in the prison in Shelby, so we're going to do a little prison talk today.
Love some prison talk.
But we didn't know if Jawlings was going to make it. She has been out living her best life, as they say.
As they say.
That is as they say.
She's been
doing the things.
So right now,
my best life.
So right now it's hunting season. Jawlings has been out hunting. How did it go?
It was good. We went out. I already shot my buck this year, so Tanner did his hunting this weekend. So he had the success story, but he got his buck this morning, and then he shot a white-tailed doe before we left this afternoon. Out by White Sulphur.
Are there any deer left for everyone else? Sounds like
Probably
you guys have kind of cleaned it
bummer
out.
for everybody. So.
Is the rule when you're hunting in pairs that you have to like endure? Like if you get yours the first day, you can't just be like, all right, well, good luck, go on. Even if they get theirs the last day of the season, you kind of have to.
You got to be in it.
You got to be
in it to win. Well, we were also elk hunting, and I still have an elk tag.
So there's more.
There was still an incentive for me to be there, but
there's more hunting season. Did you know that hunting season is probably my least favorite time of the year in Montana? You probably didn't know that about me.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
Did you know that, Luke? You probably didn't know.
Well, I know you have a soft spot for deer.
I just, I'm all about. Yeah, when I signed up and made the creed with PETA, it was that I had to denounce my hunting ways. No, it's not for that. It's because for some reason, I don't even know if hunters know this. So maybe
this might be an educational
this
experience.
This could be good because this is good, and you could probably disseminate some of this information down to the others. So I drive truck, I'm on the road all the time in the fall. And like my busy season also is hunting season. So I'm out there. I get a buck or two a year as well with my truck. Never with the rifle, but with my truck. So sometimes it's this weird thing that happens with hunters where it's like they get the fever and they forget about all else. They forget about family, friends, loyalties, traffic rules, their own well-being. That it just all goes away.
And this is Rich. The Jackson mentions traffic rules because the last 2 podcasts we've talked about how many traffic rules Jackson does not follow.
It's just the hunters though that are the problem.
No, hold on. No, I know. I understand. I know. But the traffic rules that hunters like to, bend is like flipping U-turns on the shoulder of the highway in front of a semi, or slamming on their brakes for no reason from 70 miles an hour whoa, down to about 2 when they're being followed closely by a loaded cow truck. Those are the kind of rules that I'm like, yeah, So I'm driving along one time. There's the road between Augusta and Bowman's Corner. You know that little stretch?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm cruising along. I got a load of Holstein cattle on going down to the plant in Utah. And I'm not a crazy driver. I drive a lot of hours, but I don't drive like fast. I'm just, I got her locked in there about 65. I'm driving along, and up ahead in the distance, I see some hunters. So I kind of got the radar, it goes up, and I'm like, okay. Because you never know. You're like, they could literally go any direction from where they are. Just like split second. But they're in an interesting spot. They are facing me. So I'm going this way, and they're facing me, parked in the grass. So, okay. They're facing me. So, they see me. They got to see me. They're facing me.
Other side of the road.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like oncoming. But they're in the grass. So I'm tootling along, and they seem to be doing what hunters do upon the shoulder of the road. Glassing for elk, searching for whitetails.
Urinating.
You're urinating. Probably. So as I'm going by, I'm just getting to these guys, and all of a sudden they start spraying rocks and gravel and flip a U-turn across their lane, from the shoulder across their lane in front of mine. And I piled it up. I jam on the brakes. I'm laying rubber. And the wheels are skidding. All the cattle flat on the ground. And I finally came to a stop. Not like, slow down, let them get out of the way. This is like leaving rubber, big mess, flat spots on my tires, kind of a jam on the brakes. And I'm like, because I'm like, when they did that turn in front of me, like I could see the hunter. I could see his eyes, like looking up the hood of my truck at me. It was that close. I could see his eyes this big going. And I was just like, just waiting for impact, and then nothing happened. Like, it just never came. It was like, what? And they had shot straight across the road. Once they realized what they did, they didn't try to go. They just straight across the road now in front of me, like a deer would, before you hit a deer. Like, So I jam on my brakes, and I'm shook up. Like, I stop my truck, and I get out. I'm just like hands on my knees, like on the yellow dotted line, just like, oh man, and my cattle are like, and I go look back, and they've all tipped over, and they're a mess crawling on top of each other, and I'm like, oh, they're getting up and figuring it out. So I walk around to the front of my truck, like gonna just talk to these guys, and I'm not even like mad. I'm in shock. Like, you guys okay? And they're just parked in front of me enough that we can not quite in talking distance. And they just kind of looking out the window at me. And I'm like, start walking towards them. And they just drive off. Just drive off and leave me. And I'm just like in the road. So I went back and got all my cattle up. And I didn't break any legs or nothing. They all got up. And guys, they go like 100 yards down the road. And they turn off on the ground. The gravel road. So, but that's why hunting season. That's the closest call I've had. But
that's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So just if you're out there hunting in Montana, just remember, just make good decisions and let the thought process work through fully before you act on anything. That's my 2 cents.
It's a good story.
Thank you.
My mind's going a couple different ways.
Is it?
I'm trying to gather my thoughts before I come. It's interesting how you can become so focused on, the deer and the whatever you're seeing that it's interesting because you're carrying firearms, which is something you should be pretty dialed in and safe around. Like, you should be dialed into your world around you. Right. Yet it seems like people just completely lose everything that's going on around them.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's true.
The only thing I've had close to that was when I was cleaning swimming pools out in Southern California in the Malibu area. I think we touched on that a little bit in a previous podcast. Paparazzi are like hunters, except crazy. There's, the 65 mile per hour highway slamming on brakes, just piling up cars, but they jump out of their cars and take off running
out of the car
with their camera shooting. They don't have any care for what's going on with where they left their car. The doors are open. I've seen that happen a couple times, and you just wonder what in the world is going on. They're like, oh, I know. But
so do you know, I got a question for you. Do you know who Sean Mullins is? Sean Mullins. How about you?
I got nothing. No.
So he's a musician from the era of the 90s, I suppose. His most famous song was a song called Lullaby. Now, you're thinking like children's lullaby, which is what I was remembering. I had a friend of the podcast, a trucking friend from Billings. He called to give us some feedback and talk about how much he enjoys listening. And he's like, "Man, your brother's voice. I was driving and I'm like, I've heard this voice. And I'm driving, and then the next podcast starts, and when he does it, like, you always welcome everybody in kind of at the beginning of the program. And he's like, I hear him welcome us in. I'm like, I've heard this voice. And he goes, and then it clicks, Sean Mullen. And I'm like, and then for me, it kind of rings the bell, but and then he tells me, Sean Mullen, Lullaby. I'm like, so then I go look up the song, and it's a fine song, but it was just, you're going to kick out. So it's this song where it kind of starts like the guitar's playing, and then he like sings through the beginning of the song, and it's like, she grew up in Hollywood with the stars.
Oh, I know the song. It just hit me.
Her parents went to parties on the boulevard. Then everything's gonna be all right. Lullaby or whatever. And he's like, man, it's like, you gotta listen to them both in a big sound system side by side. Dude, your bro, Sean Mullins, 100%. So I guess it's a compliment thing because, he was.
There's a solid chance you just ruined the listening experience for a lot of people.
It's my job to bring a new low to every episode. So if I did.
Jackson's brought a couple lows to episodes before.
It's good to have a signature move, I guess.
Luke is a dentist in the stars. He walks along the boulevard. And he thinks to himself, everything's going to be all right. Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about dentistry, shall we?
Here we go. With that.
Do you know the difference between, well, you are going to know the difference. Paradex. Do you know what the concentration of Paradex is of chlorhexidine?
Really, guys? That's where you're going?
We're going.
With the trucker? The paradigm of...
I don't know why, but I want to say 15%. Is that right? Or is it higher than that?
No.
5?
No.
I don't know. I'm mixing up my...
0.12.
Oh, I was way off.
0.12. So chlorhexidine is an antibacterial solution.
Okay. So
all you truckers dial in here.
Okay.
This is going somewhere.
They're all driving down the road and not trying to pronounce it. Chlora.
So there is an antibacterial mouth rinse that's fairly commonly used in dentistry called Paradex. Chlorhexidine is the active ingredient of it. Paradex is concentrated at 0.12% concentration.
So it's pretty powerful in its form.
In that form. There's a surgical scrub chlorhexidine that's like 4%.
Okay.
So what is that, like 33% more concentrated? 0.12 times 33 is...
Oh, yeah.
I am a biology major, not a math major, so if anyone needs to correct that, do it gently.
Somebody will comment
do it
on
gently.
It. Yeah.
So, the reason this is coming up is it's going to kind of intro into a lot of different things. This one thing I do with a lot of patients is when I'm fixing teeth, I will scrub the tooth with a 4% chlorhexidine. It's strongly antibacterial, so you end up with much less post-operative sensitivity if you kill all the bacteria in the tooth before you put a filling in it, a crown on it, etc. But it has a little bit of a potent taste, that 4%. So when I'm using it, I let people know we'll rinse this off if you start tasting something.
Is it orange? Mm-mm. It's not like the scrub that
The one I use that's clear, but they do make a foam, like a hand wash. It's red. They probably do have different colors. But when I first started using this 4% chlorhexidine, I knew, I was like, Paradex, which is the mouth rinse chlorhexidine, it's 0.12. I'm like, 4%? Man, that's got to be great to rinse mouth with that.
Pretty good.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna give it a go. So
so you're testing on yourself first?
Why not?
That's good. Probably good.
Took a mouthful of it, and I got about 2 swishes.
Couldn't do it.
No. Have you ever eaten a choke cherry?
Yes, actually.
Explain what it does to your mouth. What's the feeling? It's tough to describe.
That is a tough one to describe.
It's like this bitter numbness. It just feels pure numb, but like you can feel the numb. It's like you can almost chew on it.
Yeah, it's not numb like we numbed your mouth up for dental work, but it makes your mouth. It makes it feel like your taste buds have gone away.
Yeah.
With choke cherries.
Yeah.
So 4% chlorhexidine and swishing with it is like taking choke cherries and multiplying it by about 100
and just putting it all in your mouth.
I thought I had permanently. I had permanently done that to myself.
Just roasted?
Permanently choke cherried my mouth. So I will share another trying something out on myself in the dental office.
So this is normal. This is kind of typical dentistry. Trial and error, try on yourself.
I don't know if a lot of other dentists try this stuff. I don't know, but...
This is Luke Allen style, though.
So there was a period of my career where I took a strong interest in holistic dentistry. So I was absorbing as much as I could get my hands on. And one of the elements of holistic dentistry that I came across was the use of ozone in dentistry. And ozone is oxygen that we breathe is O2, 2 oxygen molecules. Ozone is 3 oxygen molecules. The third oxygen is very reactive, so it destroys bacteria very aggressively. So it's a great sanitizer. Mm-hmm. So I had a number of books, number of people I was following that were big ozone proponents. I came across one with a lot of kind of far out there treatments with ozone, and one of them was the use of urine.
But this is good because you're really into this. I mean, you're all in on the holistic. So
it's an odd one, urine.
It's out there.
But let me. Do
you know where this is going?
Maybe? Not really. No.
Okay. I didn't swish with it
because I'm like, it's dental. The dental's.
I didn't swish with it.
You didn't read anything that said it was antibacterial.
No. So there's something called a urine isode that is used in one of the branches of homeopathic medicine. Homeopathic is all about energetics. It's not about the medicine that we're all used to is concentrations. You take X milligrams of this, 4% concentration of chlorhexidine. Everything's concentrated. Homeopathy is energetics. It has nothing to do with concentrations. Urine isodes, there's a couple different uses for urine isodes, but one of them is treatment of allergies. I think that urine can treat allergies, and this is the idea behind it, is that if you are allergic to something, your body creates antibodies to what is called an antigen. Whatever you're allergic to is the antigen, your body attacks it, you have an allergic response. When you have these antigens and antibodies, there's levels of it that are found in your urine after an allergic response. So the idea is you take urine, you get it back into your body, and now all of those elements that your body's producing that it's allergic to, now your body starts to combat those, and you treat allergies with it. This is the theory.
And the only place to get that is from your urine.
Your own urine. It has to be your own because you're the only one producing the antibodies to whatever you're allergic to.
Thank God it's not other people's urine. That would have been
a
little weirder.
That would be weird. So
not saying this isn't weird.
just more weird.
So the book that I'm reading says take your urine and impregnate it with ozone and then inject it into glute muscle, which is your butt.
No.
And there's supposed to be a huge range of supposed to be a huge range of medical benefits to it. Now, at the time, I wasn't having any issues, but I was like, oh, this is kind of weird but interesting. I wonder.
You're just out there and pushing the frontier.
I don't even know if I told my wife that I was going into the office to do this. Maybe I did. Maybe I can't remember. I'll have to ask her. Anyway, I collect my urine, go to the dental office, impregnate it with ozone.
How does that work?
Oh, it's just it's a gas. I have an ozone generator, so you just bubble air into it essentially. Yep. Fill up the syringe. Stick it in my butt.
I can just imagine you like boiling the urine.
It felt like someone had taken.
Wait, so you put it in a syringe, and injected yourself?
Yep.
Because there's no way you could get a friend to come along and be like, "Hey, could you shoot some urine into my glute?"
First off, I don't know if I'd find anyone to do it, and second, I don't know if I want to tell anyone I'm doing it. Because I don't know what. Because it sounds weird. It is weird. Now that I look back on it.
This is good stuff you're sharing with everybody.
Oh, God.
From the injection site all the way down my leg to my foot, probably for about 60 seconds, it felt like someone was pouring liquid fire into my leg. And in 60 seconds is maybe it wasn't quite that long. Maybe it was more. I don't know. But just
when you're
went on
in
forever.
The pain of the moment, yeah.
Like it was, I couldn't stand. I had to sit down, and it got to the point where I thought I'm going to have to go to the emergency room. But what's on my mind is like, they're going to ask what happened. I'm going to have to tell them that I injected urine into my butt muscle.
Oh man!
And then it went away immediately. It didn't like slowly get better. It was like liquid fire. Then it was totally gone.
I have a friend who's a coroner, and he goes, "Do you know what coroners do?" And I was like, "Well, they deal with people that have passed on, right?" He's like, "Well, I believe he told me that a coroner has to come to the scene when somebody dies, essentially unattended, like someone's found, no matter the age. If someone wasn't there and there's no witness, the coroner has to come and then determine the cause of death." And he's just said over the years, he's come into some situations that were a little eyebrow raising, trying to figure out, and he has to figure out the puzzle, and declare okay, this is what happened. So I'm just trying to imagine if it had some weird effect on you and it caused your untimely demise. And the coroner would have showed up and been like, he's got urine in a syringe. The ozone machine's still on. He's got an injection site on his glute muscle and he's dead. What could this be from? So then did you reap some incredible health benefits from the practice?
I've never gotten sick since then.
Why? You never got COVID?
I didn't get COVID.
What if this is
what
the
if
new
that was
thing?
the answer to COVID?
Okay.
We spent just billions and billions of dollars of research into treating COVID, and all you had to do was ozonate your urine and
just 60 seconds of fire.
60 seconds of liquid fire. All right. Well, the lights just went out again, but
backup plan.
So it's not dark, it's just darker.
It's just kind of a real soft feel. I like it.
So speaking of dark, Jawlings.
What a great segue.
The darkness.
So Jawlings, this is a family-friendly program.
Okay.
So
I gathered.
We do have an editor that can bleep and beep if you slip something out. If some prison slang starts dropping on us.
So be creative if you need to describe something in the prison that maybe shouldn't be described.
I'll do my best.
Yeah. So I've been working in the prison for a year, maybe, roughly, when Jawlings and I heard, I think, was it your hygiene school? got you in touch with me, maybe?
It was one of my classmates.
When your
That
classmates?
you remember Alex?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so she had sent it into the hygiene class group text that there was a job opening at the prison. And it was shortly after we graduated, and I was like, that sounds kind of cool. I might think about doing that. And
Famous last thought.
yeah.
Thought that would be cool.
So, and as you can imagine, there's not a huge amount of hygienists applying to work at the prison.
Yeah, I don't think there was a ton of competing resumes when mine slid across their desk. So.
In fact, when I got there, there was a hygienist who'd been there for 8 years, an older lady. And then I think I'd been there a month, and she had a medical emergency on the side of the freeway, which necessitated an immediate retirement. So we went without a hygienist for close to a year. I think there was one other girl who came in there and worked for a little bit, but couldn't swing it. You got to have a special. You got to have a special. Really.
I think what you're looking for is you got to have a screw loose to want to work in the prison.
Yeah.
You know,
and we found
it's
her.
all right. We found her.
Here I am.
Usually, you know, it's the hygienist who's graduated at the bottom of the class. Mm-hmm. You know, they've had to take their boards a few times.
Can't find a job anywhere.
Can't find a job anywhere. They've been fired multiple times. But that wasn't the case with Jawlings. Jawlings was like primo material, and up she came. Now, when you start working at the prison, they have what's called academy. If you're going to be an officer, I think the academy is 6 weeks. You know, you just you go through training on how the prison runs, prison culture, prison life. And then with the officers, it goes into just all the rules and regulations and just how the prison runs. But everyone that works at the prison has to do, if you're not an officer, you still have to do 2 weeks of academy. And it's all kind of courses, from gangs that are in prison to conflict de-escalation.
So it's just to make you aware of the environment and kind of just walk you through the...
Yeah.
I will tell you this about academy in prison. It was a long 2 weeks. It was really boring. There was one day where we had a 4-hour chunk where the person who was supposed to be teaching didn't show up. And so we had to just sit in that classroom for 4 hours with no instructor. Those 4 hours where we were sitting doing nothing was the fastest 4 hours of that 2-week academy. No. That's how boring it was. That sitting there where we had to just sit and do nothing was faster than when we had instructors.
Did it culminate in the end with a hemorrhoid check like you had? It did not.
No, that wasn't required.
None of that.
Not like the military.
Not like, okay.
Conflict. Do you remember conflict de-escalation?
I remember it very clearly.
We're going to get into conflict de-escalation.
We're going to get into why.
So we have this maybe a 3 or 4 hour course on conflict de-escalation.
And you're probably like, I don't know, I'm out. We get in a conflict, I'm out. I'm not de-escalating, I'm out.
Well, this is what it does. It gives you it gives you a word, and each letter of the word stands for each step of conflict de-escalation. I don't even remember what it is.
I don't remember them either. It was some kind of acronym, though.
Yes, that's an acronym. That's the word. See, this is why she's
top
so
of her
freaking
class.
awesome.
Top
of the class.
Student of the year,
Student of the year.
Just thought I'd throw that in there.
So we spend, an hour and a half of this 3-hour class learning the acronym. What does that word mean? What letter comes next? And then then the rest of the time is we role play it a couple times.
You got to role play? And so one of you got to be like Prison Mike. Like, yo.
Yeah.
Yo, doc. My teeth hurts.
But this is what killed me about it. I was like, wait, hold on. And you're going to learn how well this conflict de-escalation actually works in real time. We're going to get to a story about this. But I was like, wait a second. So if a conflict develops, I got to go, wait, okay, what's the word? What is each letter? The first letter is what? Recognize there's a conflict. Okay, I got that.
And the instructor's like, no, boom, you're dead. No, you got to be quicker. Boom, you're dead.
It was just such an odd way to, and that was it for conflict de-escalation. Then on to the next thing.
Just remember the acronym. You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
So anyway, when I did the academy, the guy who was like in charge of organizing it all was really with it. He'd been doing it for quite a while, and so it was just boom, 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 boom. He moved on to a different job, and the new instructor was a little less organized. So when Jawlings got hired, her academy was a little bit all over the place. But day 2 of her academy, she came into the prison in a unique situation. The town of Shelby had a water reservoir that one of the intake or outtake pipes weren't set correctly. So the reservoir that supplied water for the town had gone empty. And by the time they realized it was going to take multiple days to refill it to get water to the town of Shelby. But the prison also receives the same water source as the town of Shelby. So the prison doesn't have any water. Now, what this means in the prison is toilets don't flush.
They got no
showers
water. Not
don't
like
work.
limited. There's no water.
Bottled.
It's done.
So they're bringing
Nothing
bottled
not
water
flushing.
for. Now, the other thing that happens when anything happens in the prison that is out of the ordinary, prison locks down. And what that means is everyone goes to their assigned cell, they lock the doors, and they're locked in their cells. Because when there's things going on, they need to focus on what's going on and not focus on handling inmates, so everyone's locked down. So it's August. I think it was August when this happened. So hot. Guys have been in their cells going on a couple of days. Toilets not flushing. Multiple guys in the cells with no toilets flushing, no showers working. Things are getting a little tense.
A little tense.
A little tense. And in the prison, they have different housing units. And these housing units are often, there's one housing unit where the guys who are a little bit more troublemakers, maybe they've had a little more intense crimes, they continue to get in trouble while they're in prison. They're classed. Based on their crimes and how their behavior is in prison, they get they're classed. And so you have one housing unit, which is, let's just call it the troublemakers, essentially.
Similar to you getting out of school. You were classed.
It was classed.
Okay.
And so then when you get all the troublemakers in one housing unit, that's the one where you're always having conflict in the prison. You know, whenever there are problems, it's always this housing unit.
Like the acronym is getting dished out on a daily basis.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so Mariah's day 2 in academy. So this is her second day in the prison.
Okay.
Her instructor thinks it's going to be, you know what? Inmates don't have any water. We're going to go in. We're going to pass bottles of water out.
As part of the training?
No, it was like our training had completely stopped.
Okay.
And they were like, well, we're going to have a big meeting, like, facility wide. Whole staff comes in and the warden is, giving off all these instructions. And, okay, we have all these bottles of water that we got from wherever, and we need to unload them and deliver them to the inmates. And at this point, I'm thinking, like, okay, so like training's over and we're all going to get to go home.
But this is day 2.
This is day 2. Day 1, like you said, was horrendously boring. It like literally just 8 hours in a room watching PowerPoints.
Which day was conflict de-escalation? Was it day?
No, that's like at
You
the
didn't
end
even have it.
No.
No.
You had
Yeah,
none.
no.
You had nothing.
Okay, let me interject here.
Okay.
First off, boring.
Just want to set
This
the
is a
scene.
whole.
So boring.
This is a whole side note. I cannot stand being in lectures where the instructor puts up a PowerPoint and then just reads the PowerPoint.
Okay.
You know what? Just give me a drive and let me go read it at home because I can do it a lot faster. So if you're gonna do that, at least don't just get up there and read it and then that's it. Give me more information than what I can just read. Okay, that's still a side note. The prisons in Montana are severely understaffed. In fact, I've just heard, well, it's alleged, but it's true, because my source is really good, that they've shut down a whole wing at Montana State Prison, which is the state-run prison, because they don't have enough staffing. They've had to shut down one of the housing areas.
When it comes back on, it comes on. The lights are back on. Yeah.
So Shelby, where for Jawlings and I worked, where Jawlings and I worked is it's a private prison, but it's contracted with the state of Montana. So it houses all. I think did we talk about this one time before?
Yeah.
I can't remember. Anyway, so when there are staffing shortages and there are out of the ordinary circumstances, it's kind of all hands on deck. They bring people in from everywhere to help out. For instance, during when they had COVID lockdowns, inmates could not come to the cafeteria to eat. Food had to be taken to their individual cells. Give them food, then all the trays had to be recollected and taken back, for the dishes to be done. So school teachers, medical staff, everyone is helping pass out food. It's kind of all hands on deck.
So on this day, they're like, hygienist, you are a great candidate for delivering water.
They're not even just hygienists. They're
it was like, you have a pulse and you're here.
We got to get watered. We got to get watered to these people. So I'm trying to remember my second day. I think my second day of academy, it was something like they brought us in and showed us a video of prison attacks on staff and prison gangs, which as they're going over each gang, they're having black gang, Native American gang, Hispanic gangs, Mexican gangs, white supremacist gangs. And for each group, through this little tiny speaker that's maxed out as loud as they can, they're playing some kind of music. Did you have that one?
I remember that one.
Like a theme song for each group?
So maybe the black gangs, they've got this really kind of gangster rap playing. Then they get to the Hispanic or Mexican gangs, and it's got some I don't even know what it was. And they get to the white supremacist gangs.
It's like a mariachi band.
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
The white supremacist gang is just this really screaming metal.
Like hillbilly banjos or something.
And so you're just kind of like, oh my gosh, what is going on here? I don't know about this. And then they took us from there into the restricted housing unit, which restricted housing unit is if you have gotten into trouble, you're put into 23 hours a day confinement.
Okay.
And it's a special unit. It's like this echo chamber in there. It's really loud, boom, sound zoom, and everyone's in there hollering and yelling, and it's just. And so when you come in there, it's actually probably the safest place in the prison because everyone's locked down. But when you come in there for the first time, they're all just screaming, and this is where we're not going to get into the language and the things they say.
It's like to put on a show for you when you come in.
Yeah. That's what they do in the housing unit, the restricted housing unit, and it's extremely intimidating. Later, as I got to know everyone in here after a year and a half of doing dental work, I knew everyone in there, and when I come in, it was very quiet and respectful because they knew I'm helping them. But so that was my day 2 in the prison. It was kind of scary, and I was like, ugh, I don't know about this. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that was my day 2.
Okay.
So they showed us the video, then took us into an area where everyone's locked up in cells for 23 hours a day, and they yelled at me.
Yeah. And your day 2.
Did you write about it in your diary later that day too?
I might have. You can see that I have long hair. And so I think they were making a lot of comments out about being the prison girlfriend type comments.
Not that they liked your
Come
hair.
here, sissy boy. I'll show you a man's love.
But it was a little intense. So that was my day 2. So now as Jawlings is saying,
I can't wait to see where this is going to go.
God.
Jawlings, they're done because they're kind of on emergency. They've quit classes. You think, okay, go home, come back tomorrow or the next day, whatever, when this is resolved. Instead, they say, hey, we need to have everyone come help pass out water. So why don't you carry on?
So yeah, I'm at this point just following directions because I was like, okay, I guess we're not going home.
You're like a world away from graduating
Yep,
hygienist.
yep, yeah.
You're like, what the?
All of a sudden, I'm not a hygienist anymore.
Here I am.
So yeah, basically we had to, they were like, okay, well, we need a group of people to go unload some water from these trucks that they brought in. And I was like, okay. So I went with a couple other people, some of my academy classmates, and then we had to be accompanied by a staff member. When you're in academy, you can't be wandering around the prison without a staff member. So we at least had that going for us. But I'm pretty sure the staff member that we were with was like a librarian or something.
I know it was a school teacher.
Yeah. I think she's in education.
Yes, education. Whether it was librarian,
so
whatever
you're not
education.
feeling like you're protected necessarily.
I mean,
By
she
the
was
librarian.
very sweet. We'll get to it.
Okay.
So we go where we're unloading these waters off these trucks, and so we had collected all these carts from throughout the prison, and we're putting the waters onto these carts that are going to go to the housing units or the pods, and so I'm thinking like, yeah, we're gonna get these waters on the pod or like on the carts. They're gonna go to the pods, and we're just gonna hand them off like that. That's gonna be the baton pass to the whatever responsible officer that happens to be working in said living unit, and that's gonna be it. We're gonna move on to the next thing, right? And so we bring these carts. They're like, okay, well, you need to take it to these couple of pods, and then these other people are going to take it to these other couple of pods. So we have a couple of carts of water. There's 4 of us, and we go into the first one, and I wasn't expecting to like actually go in.
You're like, hey, I'm day 2.
Yeah,
Huh?
exactly.
I'll unload the trucks, but I'm not just kidding me.
So so they're like, okay, push the cart of water in there, and so I was like, all right, I guess.
Go
So
on.
we walk in,
Go on.
and they had let them out of their lockdown, so all of the inmates are
Wait.
well, they're not like wandering the prison or anything. They're in their pods, but they are in like a day area in the middle. So all of the cells are kind of around this room,
But they're
and in the middle is a day
they're
area.
free, and you're in.
Yeah. Oh, they're like in a
like,
fish tank.
they can touch you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
when you say pods, housing unit and pod, saying the same thing. You have imagine you're in a big gymnasium,
yeah,
and around
would be
basically out of 3 walls of the 4 walls of gymnasium, 2 levels of cells.
okay.
Bunk, bathroom, okay? And then in the middle where the gym floor would be is kind of the main area. They're going to have tables, maybe some workout equipment. Some of them had like video games.
I think I can picture, because it's when you see prison riots, it's like there's some tables around, there's cells around, and you see this CCTV footage of
Yeah.
and they sent you into the middle.
Yeah.
With the water.
These housing units will generally have 1 officer in there.
Okay.
And then each one is going to have probably 50 to 100 maybe inmates in each housing unit, somewhere in there.
And the librarian's leading you into battle.
Yeah, me and the librarian and these 2 other people that I was in academy with. So we basically like split the room in half. So what they told us going in is they're like, okay, to start off, every inmate gets 2 bottles of water because we don't know how long we need to like ration this supply. So we're going to start with 2 bottles of water. If they ask any questions or ask for more, just tell them this is what we're starting with. And like basically don't answer questions, just hand them out and get out of there. And so we split the room in half. So we had 1 cart go down one side, 1 cart go down the other side. And, you're a new face in there. You have a visitor badge. And especially a woman walking into an all-male prison, and they're like, it's questions just everywhere. Like it was like, a bunch of seagulls on French fries. That's the only way that I can think to describe it. It was just like, what are you, like, what's your name? What are just like, it was really.
Oh, I bet you're about to die.
Oh my gosh. I'm just like, I can't answer 1 question at a time, and I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah, because don't say anything.
Yeah, don't provide any
Don't
personal
engage.
information. Yeah, and I'm just like, oh, we don't have to talk about it. Here's some water. And so we actually made it in and out of the first pod without a hitch. And I mean, obviously it's crazy and chaotic and it's loud in there, but we hand out the waters and we turn around and we head out the one exit to the room. Okay, so there's just the one.
One in.
And then so we go and we go to round 2. Gotta go do it again. We had 2 pods that we had to go distribute waters to, so we go to the second pod.
And I'd have been thinking like, hold on, I survived my tour.
Exactly.
I get a little break.
I was like, I'm good, actually.
Okay, so round 2.
Round 2. So we go into the second pod, and you could almost tell as soon as you walked in there that things were a little bit more tense in there.
Now, second pod
This is death row.
that you went to is the housing unit for the troublemakers.
Yeah, and I didn't know this. I knew none of this.
And
at
this would be
time.
the most hardcore of the
Oh yeah,
prison, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because they're okay.
yeah.
And you have no idea.
No idea.
But you could feel it in the air.
You could as soon as you walked in, it was just like you could have cut the tension in there with a knife. It was just like, I'm uncomfortable, but I think we should just go in and get out. You
And
know?
they were also roaming.
Also, yep, all just free roaming in there. And so yeah, me and
normally they're locked 23 hours in the troublemaker
No.
zone. No.
different troublemakers.
That's the
zone.
restricted housing.
Yeah.
Oh,
for,
restricted. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was called Charlie C-Pod. Charlie Pod.
Well,
is what it
at
was
the
called.
time, because they changed it when I was there, it was H&J Pod were
That's
the
right,
2.
where they used to keep the feds.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyways, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, we go into this pod where all of these, at the time I didn't know, crazy prisoners were in. I mean, you can kind of assume they're crazy at the, given the circumstances. But anyways, we walk in there and we do the same thing we did in the first one. So we split it in half. 1 cart of water goes to the right side. 1 cart of water goes to the left side. So I'm on the left side with my pal, the librarian, and a couple other people on the other side. And there's across the room from me, as we're like going down this row, across the room, there's one of the inmates he's just going off like on this officer that has probably been in there for way too long. But so he's just yelling and swearing, and like things are getting even more tense,
So this is an actual prison officer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep. So
Like,
there
he's
is
like
an officer
security style.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. He's in there.
So he's dealing with this guy while you guys are passing waters out.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's just like going off on this officer for whatever reason. Like it was just, he was just basically doing it to be rude, I guess.
Just because.
Yeah. Just because. Yeah. And, so I'm just like trying to ignore everything that's happening across the room. I'm like,
You're like, where's the dirty teeth? I'm here for the dirty teeth.
Exactly. No, so I'm like not really, I'm trying not to pay attention to what's going on. I'm handing out the waters, trying to ignore all the questions that are happening. And it starts getting really loud on the other side of the room where this inmate is. And at this point, he's screaming. Like he was sort of yelling a little bit, and then he's just screaming at this officer. And the officer is kind of spitting back at him too, just like, he was just sick of being in there. I mean, he's sick of this guy yelling at. He's over it. He was way over it. I think we were way past the acronym at this point.
He's like yelling acronyms at him.
Yeah,
the de-escalation
he's looking
acronym.
at his hand where he wrote the acronym down. And so just in the corner of my eye, I see some movement, and I look just in time to see this inmate just bolt across the room. So the officer's kind of like more towards my side of the room, and he just bolts across the room, and the officer didn't have time to react. I mean, they all have spray, they all have like pepper spray on them. There was not even enough time for him to get a hand on that or anything, and the inmate just comes at him and just got him on the ground right away. And
Gets the officer down.
Yeah. The one person in there that's armed with anything that is like going to protect us.
Oh man.
He's on the ground.
You couldn't believe it.
I'm just like watching all of this unfold, and I didn't know what to do. And so I'm watching him, and he just, for lack of a better word, just like bashes this guy's head in on the concrete floor. More than once too. And
so he's got the better of this officer.
Oh, 100%. And to preface, the officer was okay. You should have seen bump on his head though when they got him out of there. But anyways, that's more towards the end of this. But yeah, so he gets the officer down, and of course, like, other inmates are kind of like egging him on a little bit and getting into it.
It's like in the movies where everybody all of a sudden
you were
just
talking about that
erupts.
CCTV footage. It was pretty much exactly
Just
like that.
Everything
Yeah,
just
yeah.
goes
So
crazy.
everything just like builds and builds and builds, and then so he's across the room. He's bashing this guy's head in on the concrete floor, and the librarian, who I thought was gonna stick with me till the end, she goes running towards this conflict.
Fight or flight. And she goes to the fight.
Yeah, I don't have it. I don't have the fight. But yeah, so she goes running towards it, and then there's another staff member, also administrative, on the other side of the room, also not armed with any pepper spray or anything. She comes running across the room, and at this point, there's like probably two or three or four other inmates that are in on this, and
I think it was 2 total.
I think it was 2 that actually were, that got in trouble for it. And I watched these 2 women run towards this conflict, and then they also got their heads bashed in on the concrete floor.
So they went after the.
So I've seen 3 people in the span of like 30
Just like
seconds.
that.
Just instantly.
They're getting their heads bounced off the concrete.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Day 2.
Day 2. And I mean, who's left now in there? It's you.
It's me and the water cart and the other Academy member that had already booked it out the exit. So it's basically just me.
She's gone.
And so this is all happening right behind me. So this conflict is happening between me and the door.
Okay.
And so
And we're talking feet away from her. I mean, this is like at her feet.
Yeah, basically from me to the end of this table. Like this is happening right there. And so I'm just kind of standing there, and my first thought, and this is so stupid, and I don't understand why it happened, but my first thought as I'm standing there next to this cart of water, and inmates are just like swarming this cart of water and grabbing as much as they possibly can.
Like they don't care. Look, now we can get 3 bottles.
They're opportunistic, yes. And I'm just like, my first thought is like, but the water, like, I don't know.
They can only have 2.
I was like, two per person. And then I kind of snapped into it a little bit, and I was like, what are you thinking? Like, forget the water. Like, just, you got to get out of here somehow, or like that's going to be your head on the concrete floor. Yeah. And so basically I had to like kind of scoot around, because there's tables all over in the middle of this floor too, and so I have to like scoot around all these chairs and tables to the other side of the room where people are not having their heads bashed into the concrete, and like get around all of these inmates that are just out and about, and somehow I made it around and out the door. And as soon as I made it out, that was like when the cavalry shows up, and
so they all came rolling
people
in.
come running in there, and there was spray, and yeah.
I think the
so
warden actually responded.
He did, yeah.
Really?
I watched him
Hammered
go
one of the
book it in
guys.
there, yeah, and he like tackled one of them or something.
This was the military warden.
Yeah, former Marine big guy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and I meanwhile I'm just like standing in the hallway, like, so now what?
So Jackson, if you want to talk about your little adrenaline rush from the hunters.
Oh man!
Did you have that huge burn off of adrenaline where you felt like you almost couldn't stand up?
100%.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm shaking, absolutely. And people are like, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Well, no, not really."
Well, I'm better. I mean, I'm not. Don't have a hole in my
And
head.
I'm like, I'm more okay than some people here, but
but I have feelings too.
So that I think that was that a Friday?
yeah, it was a Friday. It was a Friday.
And so I wasn't there that day. And then Monday or Tuesday when I came back into the prison, everyone's like, "Oh yeah, did you hear everything that happened?" And I started getting filled in, and they're like, "Yeah, the hygienist was there." And I'm like, "What?" And so I start asking, I get the story. I'm like, is she? So like she's done then, huh? Probably. Like, no, she's in academy today.
I'm like, came right on back. Day 3.
She went home and thought about it for the weekend and said, "Yeah, let's go."
That's okay. Try it again.
It's not so bad. Oh man. There's so many things that you're just like.
So those guys at the
So the fallout.
So they had 2 girls that they had down on the ground beating on the ground, The officer male, and they had 2 girls who were not, they're in civilian clothes. And what I came to find out is people in civilian clothes in the prison are somewhat protected, especially by the lifers, people who are sentenced to life in prison. A lot of the things they need to live in there as comfortable as possible, medical care, education, and whatnot, does not come from officers. It comes from civilians that are working in there. So there's a little bit of an unwritten rule that you don't lay hands on people in civilian clothes.
Let alone women in civilian clothes.
So at the private prison, there's not a whole lot they can do to punish them other than put them in restricted housing. But this was such an egregious attack that they were shipped out same day to Montana State Prison.
Same day?
Same day. Wow. I heard some rumors of some of the fun things they got to experience in state hands versus private prison hands. Yeah. Yeah, there were I don't know how many were true. I think some of it was some speculation, but there was some that I think was pretty legit, that they their life, let's just say, was pretty uncomfortable for quite a long time.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. The one of the officers told me that he was one of the ones loading him on, and the warden grabbed one of the state guys and said, "Hey, they hurt some of ours," and they said, "Oh, we know.
Really?
We'll handle it."
Oh man. So they got what was coming to them.
But the thing, likely what would happen in that situation is they will be under administrative punishment. They won't see the light of day for a long time. They won't talk to another person, won't see the light of day for a long time.
Yeah.
And then when they get back out in the general population, they'll probably have some physical repercussions from
other inmates
because they laid hands on civilians.
It's kind of cool to know you're being protected by somewhat.
Yeah, no.
Your justice is being served for what happened by.
Had my back a little bit, I guess.
But, jeez, interesting, huh? Her second day in the prison.
That's crazy. It's just crazy because there's so much like when you think about you're in academy to start with, because they're like, no, you have to check the box. You gotta, and then they're like, okay, yeah, but we're gonna put all this aside and we're gonna put you in the wolves' den and have you deliver water to the crazies, and you're like, okay, now we need you to go back.
I think that should have been like a test out of academy.
I think it should have been, for sure. No, because I still had to go back and finish the rest of academy, and it was so boring after that. Like, it was boring before, and then I was like, wait, can we talk about the fact that I, basically watched a prison riot unfold in front of me? Like, can we just skip ahead to the test?
Survived the prison riot. Oh. Yeah, I'm testing out of here for sure. I don't need acronyms. I don't need anything.
Yeah, so that was day 2. I couldn't believe that you came back. When I heard about that, I can't believe
think a lot of people. Because that was like one of so the first question everybody asked me right after that happened is, "Are you okay?" And then shortly after that, the second question is like, "Are you going to be here on Monday?" And I was like, "Can I think about it?"
But are you going to be back?
Because we still have more water to deliver on Monday. So
they're like, that was pretty dramatic. You're telling them how, I'm going to have nightmares. And they're like, but did you die? Like, well, no. So you'll be back? You're like,
I tell you what, I think it ruined her, though, for the rest of her career. Have you found, where you're working, have you found that excitement?
No, it doesn't exist in
private
in
practice.
The regular world.
Oh.
I haven't watched any of my patients beat anybody up yet. I guess there's first time for everything, or second, I guess.
Sounds like a jungle up there.
It's not. It's a different world in there for sure.
Uh-huh.
But this is the type of person that can work there and actually just not sink into some weird place.
I feel like it was almost expected. Like, they kept handing me, I can't even tell you how many times I got a pamphlet for their employee assistance program or something, so you can call and talk to a therapist or something. Really? They were like, if you need to talk to someone, just read this pamphlet.
You're like, I don't need to talk.
I was
I
like,
just
wow,
want out of
what
academy.
a personal touch.
Yeah, right. Like,
but I don't know. It didn't really mess me up that bad. I guess I don't know. I kind of thought about it as like a good thing to witness firsthand, especially if you're going to like commit to working in a place like that.
Yeah.
Because if you get too comfortable, like, oh, these guys aren't that bad. Because most of the time in dental or like in the medical clinic, like they weren't. I mean, they were pretty nice people. Like
they have
you have regular conversations with them.
I mean, she had a beast constantly in with her in the dental clinic watching out for her.
Oh, because of you. I was like, what? She's like, what?
Never. I was like, I can't think of any officers there that I would have turned a beast. But
oh, did you have any secret desires that someone would rise out of the chair and try to throw down or anything?
No, because I probably would have got my head bounced off the concrete.
And I would have been watching it happen because, I'm not going in for it.
We know how she responds.
She'd be like,
I am so sure that the security footage of that just looks so stupid because I'm just like standing there and I'm pretty sure I had my hand on my chest like this and I'm just like scooting around the room. Just trying to be invisible, Oh, man.
So I think I asked you this. Do you ever find yourself thinking back on it, like what if? And I'll give you an example of this. And I think I already did give you this example, but for listeners, I'm going to say it again. We have a pond in our backyard that's got a slope on it, and I was a few years ago mowing that and hit some kind of a slick spot, in the mower that I was on dropped off the edge of this pond and flipped over on top of me. Did you know about this?
No. Well, now that you're saying it, I remember hearing about it. But you've never expounded on it. No.
So the lawnmower, and it's a Hustler mower. So it's a big
zero turn. Yeah,
it weighs. It's probably got to weigh 400 or 500 pounds.
Yeah,
but it flipped completely over and pinned me under the water. So it was on top of me, and I was under the water in this pond, and I couldn't get out from under it. I couldn't get my head above the water. So I say that's the closest to dying that I knew that I was that close to dying. I'm sure there's a lot of things where I've been real close to dying. I just wasn't aware of it. But that's the closest that I've been to dying that I was aware of. And I remember I'm frantically trying to get my head above water so I can breathe. But at the same time, I'm very calmly thinking, I cannot believe that this is how I'm going to die. Like it was such a clear, as I'm frantically, scrambling, trying to push, and I can't move at all. And I'm doing everything I can. But at the same time, it's just very clear in my mind,
Of all the things,
this is how I can't believe it.
Drove my lawnmower into a pond.
This pond that we grew up playing in, swimming in, jumping off the docks, swinging on. The hours that I've spent in this pond, this is how I'm going to die. I'm going to pinned under a lawnmower.
Full circle under the lawnmower.
And then I was able to finally just get my face above water. I was still pinned, but I was able to just get my face out and then start yelling for help. But there's times I catch myself thinking back and I'm like going, man, like I'm not messed up from it. I don't think I have like a PTSD thing or anything from it, but I catch myself thinking about it and just going, man, that was messed up.
That's messed up.
Like, whew, that was it almost for me. So do you ever look back? I mean, first off, do you feel like you have PTSD type things from it where or do you just look back sometimes and go, man, that's crazy. That could have gone so different.
I mean, I don't know that I'd say there's I don't have PTSD or anything like that, but I will, the Monday that I decided to go back to prison after all this unfolds, I do remember pulling up in the parking lot of the prison and just kind of getting the jitters a little bit. And I'm just like, well, that's weird. But then I think it was just kind of that in my head that's just like, oh, this is just like a physical response because something crazy happened here to you. And you're going to be fine. Just go in. And so I just kind of had that. I was able to kind of compartmentalize it a little bit and just kind of put it in a different spot and
just press on.
Yeah, get it. But I do think about it a lot. watch. I'd never seen. I really never seen that kind of like violence.
Like
in my life.
I mean, it's like how many people even see like a street fight or a bar fight
Well, it's like,
or whatever. Like,
but it was like on a completely different level.
yeah, I mean, most people don't even experience that, and here you are, like feet away from you. The protector is out. These women being just pounded on.
Yeah, I'm like counting on my fingers the number of people that are left over.
Yeah, you're like,
And I'm like,
I guess I'm the
sweet.
next.
So I hear of former special forces, Navy SEALs, Delta Force, Rangers, Green Berets, that they just watched now special forces military movies, and they can't even watch them because like that isn't even how. It's not like that in real life. They can't even watch them. Has this ruined all prison movies for you now?
This ain't a riot.
I was like, that's not how it works.
That's not how it happens. Like, can you even watch those anymore?
I haven't tried, but now I feel like I should probably go home and watch some Shawshank Redemption or something. And
yeah. What's that Netflix show where we had?
The I Am a Killer.
So there's a Netflix show called I'm a Killer. While we were there, we had a couple of patients that were interviewed and filmed on that show while we were there.
Oh.
And that season just came out a few months ago, and
yeah, pretty recently.
Only one of them made it on there. I wonder if the other one will be a different season.
I don't know. I wondered if they just scrapped the whole thing, if they were going to release it on a different.
The one that didn't
season.
make it, right before he filmed, he came in and we fixed his front teeth so he'd look good on TV.
Oh, for the deal?
And he didn't even make it.
He's like the one prisoner that got a little extra attention for the show.
No, we tried to fix front teeth. We tried to help people look good.
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta look good when you're in prison. But yeah, so yeah, if you go watch I'm a Killer, you'll see one of our patients on there.
Man.
Yeah, we got a lot of funny stories to tell, but I don't know if we can do them on here.
I was thinking that on the way here. I was like, some of that might not be very appropriate.
Like maybe
but
we
I
do
learned lots of words that I had to look up on Urban Dictionary.
Yeah.
If that gives you any idea.
Oh, yeah. That's when I was like, oh, I should tell some stories. I'm like, that one's funny. No, I can't tell it.
No.
Oh no, I can't tell that one because they are a little explicit. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I kind of had to use the same sort of like filtration process like at Thanksgiving dinner last year.
You're like, no.
Grandma's here, so probably not.
Now, you got to tell me, because I thought, it seems like maybe, and I don't know if this was in your time, it seems like I came across a news story today about a prison. I don't know how this made the news, the national news, but this prisoner that to get attention, he'd had a beef with the guards. Apparently they were supposed to be delivering some food packages to him, but he hadn't been on good behavior for 6 months yet. It was only 5 months. So they were withholding, and he was upset. So to protest, he began smearing his feces and waste around the cell and around him. And
I think that actually happened more than a couple times.
That's a go-to.
So this is like prison 101 for they're like, so if you ever need to get the guards' attention,
you have different levels of escalation
with both hands.
Well, I'll give you an example.
Okay.
We had one patient. I guess this is more my patient because he didn't have any teeth. He was all dentures. So
not much for
I
you
didn't
to
have
clean.
much to work with. No.
But our chairs were right next to each other. So everything that I'm experiencing, she's getting to experience it. When I tell this story, I don't remember if you were here yet when this happened. Anyway, we had this guy come in and he had like this multiple personality disorder, and he's always very friendly and outgoing and just great in the dental chair.
Uh-huh.
But he had a lot of major mental issues that created a lot of conflict. He did think he was a prophet. Sometimes he thought he was Jesus. Just a huge range of different things going on with him mentally and with different personalities exhibiting. But he had been in restricted housing. I don't remember why. I don't know if he'd refused his housing, so that's where they put him or whatnot. But he had come in to continue this denture project we were doing. And I was asking him, how things going, what's new. And he said something, let me think what he said. He said something along the lines of, they're not listening to me, they're not getting me what I want, so I'm going to have to step it up. I'm going to have to go to the next level of things.
So he's telling you this while he's in the chair.
Yeah, and I go, what does that look like? I mean, what do you do with that? He goes, well, I got to take my clothes off and I got to start painting myself with SH. I go, well, there's only one place he can get it. And then he goes, here's the deal. I'm so constipated anyway, and he does this. I got to dig it out anyway. Were you in there when this happened? You don't remember?
I don't remember that.
And so immediately I've completely checked out on his story because I'm starting to think, okay, what has he touched? And have I touched his hand?
Touched his hand?
Has his hand touched me? But that was, and then the officer, when they're in restricted housing, they have to be escorted by an officer, and the officer was just standing behind him, just realized I was shaking his head, and I looked at him. He's like, "Yep," like shook his head, like, "Yep, this is what's going to happen next. We're ready for it." So that is I guess the next level of escalation. I'm not sure where it goes from that. I know your story
goes on.
That guy got a little more intense after that, but it's
he did.
It's an interesting environment. I loved working in there. I think you enjoyed it.
I did. I kind of miss it sometimes.
Yeah. Really, it makes private practice
just fairly dull, bland.
You don't know literally minute to minute what's happening in there. I kind of liken it to just a really, really good reality show, but live.
Yeah.
Because in the dental office, you just kind of get to sit back and watch it all happen.
Yeah, because you're not, unless it's water day.
Yeah, unless it's water day. But that wasn't in the dental clinic.
I was in the dental clinic. No. Yeah, if you're in the dental clinic, you just sit back and the alarms go off. You're like, oh, what now? Who's coming in? Just one day a guy will come in with scissors sticking out of his face.
Oh.
Next guy's drug overdose. He's on a backboard just screaming at the top of his lungs for 20 minutes until blows his vocal cords out. Oh, I mean, it's just, yeah.
Have you heard any more follow up from your local job?
Yeah, I finally got the contract back.
Yeah.
And now I have to go through another academy of sorts.
Oh,
so they're getting that set up.
Okay.
But it's not as intense. I think it's just two courses.
Well, that's what they told you.
Yeah, they told me it wasn't going to be that intense.
So it's no big deal.
Yeah.
I would maybe ask them about their water distribution plans before going into that.
Yeah. In the event of a water shortage,
my
important questions to bring up in an interview. Okay.
John, see, this is why it's important to have you around. The things that I learned. That is I should have asked that in my interview, shouldn't I have?
Yeah. Probably.
I'll bring that up.
Okay.
Yep. So anyway,
or ask them if their librarian is armed with pepper spray at any given moment.
Yeah. I just need a little more firepower. As a dentist, are you allowed to?
Or even just meet the librarian and square up, see
what she's got.
Oh man. Oh yeah, good times.
Oh, that's 2 episodes now and I shouldn't be laughing about your story. But I am.
It'd be uncomfortable if you weren't laughing. So
now I've got 2 episodes now where I'm just hurting. I'm leaving the episode hurting. I've got too many smiles and too many laughs.
Well, we're out of time. Jawlings, thank you for coming out.
Thanks for having me.
Telling us that. I always good to see you.
Yeah. Well, I always pictured that I would tell this story again, and it was either going to be in therapy or on a podcast about trucking. So,
hey, did you know what?
So here we are.
Have we even talked about?
Did you catch where the trucks came in? They did come in.
Oh, the
she brought them in
the water.
That's true.
She had to go.
Do you know what a semi is?
I'm sort of familiar.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think actually, when we were out hunting, real quick, when we went out hunting this weekend, we left Saturday, and there was a semi tipped over on the highway between Great Falls and Belt.
Oh, did you see it?
Yeah.
It was a cow truck.
Yeah, it was.
Did you know about that one?
Yeah, I heard about it. I don't know who it was, but. The wind was bad. It was really bad.
It was horrible.
We all made it through, but yeah, I got the call yesterday from somebody around here. Said, yeah, a cow truck just tipped over. I mean, like,
It had to have
was it
just
fairly
happened when
close
we
to
drove
town,
by.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't.
Kind of on the
Too
4
far.
lane there. On
Mhm.
yeah.
I think that one blew over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was empty. Just get a big. I mean, it was blowing like 70 plus miles an hour, and just.
Ooh.
I told a few of the guys that are pulling the older trailers. I was like, hey, if it's got to go, just let it go, because insurance will pick up on the old trailers and we can upgrade. He's like, yeah, I could use a paint job on my truck too. I was like, the wind is the wind. So,
Yeah, crazy.
oh yeah.
When you saw that truck, did you think about this podcast?
I did actually, yeah, because I'd been listening and I was like, oh, I feel like I'm looking at trucks in a different
I think
perspective.
you're about to come up on an episode about wind.
About wind.
We did one about wind and trucks.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's legit. You're gonna hear one soon if you continue listening.
Well, I don't know if I'll listen to this one.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna watch it.
You're gonna watch.
No, do you ever get, I mean, maybe you guys have recorded enough episodes that you're over this now, but do you ever get like the sound of your own voice is like
I kind of like it in this.
worse than
with the headphones on the mic, isn't it? Like, oh yeah,
It's not bad.
I can't stand listening to my own voice.
Isn't it
You
horrible?
can't, but Jackson obviously likes to listen to
I'm just like in the
himself
mic, like, beep, blue. Yeah.
So, all right, let's wrap this thing up. Steady at the Wheel Podcast at gmail.com. Steady at the Wheel Podcast on Instagram.
Yep, on Instagram you can catch me at Shumanush. Oh, we've never talked about what a Shumanush is. Let's do that on the next episode. I've never revealed that to anyone.
His Instagram name is Shumanush.
What is
You're gonna have to listen to a
Yeah.
lot of episodes to find that out.
SHUMUNUSH, a Shumanush. Yeah, that word's been with me since like 3rd grade.
And YouTube.
YouTube, Wild Wild West.
All right, Jawlings, thanks again.
Yep, thanks for having me.